So I think Joan Collins on a yacht was, one at peak time for me. That was the one where I was like, okay, we need a picture so I can show my mum.
Were you on the yacht?
I was on the yacht,
Okay,
in
great.
Saint-Tropez.
Let's say you searched in an image generator like Midjourney, 5 disabled people or a group of friends with a disabled person at a bar. That will literally completely scramble the Midjourney, and it would just spit out something utterly outrageously wrong.
We're not kind of dictating what an influencer must say within their content. We want to utilise their own unique styles to sort of tell those stories. And it's great that I think we're both aligned on that way of working.
I think for us, social has been an amazing area where, because of your brand personality, because you are able to just say things in a slightly more provocative, progressive way, creating inclusive campaigns with you has been, again, a no-brainer really.
In social, you have to always be prepared to change. I think change is a constant and you need to be prepared to sort of jump on things as they come up.
Hello and welcome to the Purple Goat podcast. Today I'm joined by the formidable Rachael Courtney at VMO2's Gamepad. Would you mind introducing yourself and then telling us a little bit about where we are today?
Certainly. So I'm Rachael Courtney. I have worked in social for 17, I think it's probably 18 years this year. So from the very early days of Facebook, when literally all we had was Facebook and Twitter back then. I now work as head of social content at Virgin Media O2. I've been in the telco industry for coming up for 10 years in social media. And today we are at the Virgin Media Gamepad, which is at the O2 Arena. We opened this space back in late June last year. It's an amazing space, free for all to come. Don't have to be a customer. So if you're in the O2, it's definitely worth a visit. It's three areas here. So the playground on the top floor is open to everyone to come and play. We've got Xbox there, 16 stations. Come in, play all sorts of games, have some fun. And then we also have two other spaces. One which we're in now, which is the cave, which is exclusively for our priority customers. So anyone with priority from O2 can book a session here for them and their friends. It's got amazing tech. I mean, huge screen. I'm sure you'll attest to that.
98-inch.
Yeah, some amazing little free waters. Just putting a little plug in there for that. And it's just a great space to come and game with friends. And then the last spot's the playground. The stage even, which is our streaming studio. Again, kitted out with the highest tech. It's been really good. Lots and lots of footfall through. It's an accessible space. We have a lift here. It's really open to everyone. So we're looking forward to seeing more people here this year.
Awesome. It might be a silly question, but why a gamepad? What it makes that connection for VMO2 to go, what, we need to make a gaming space?
Yeah, I mean, gaming's kind of been on the agenda for a while for Virgin Media and O2. Obviously, both mobile gaming and gaming at home is a huge industry. We know lots of our customers use our services to game with friends. And so for us, it just felt like the right thing to do. How to make a space that is kind of free and open, obviously powered by our broadband. And what better place to do it, the O2, particularly with our brands combining. A few years back, it just seems like, the ideal opportunity to open it up to people here.
And what's the reception been like so far to the Gamepad?
It's been great. I think some of your team are down for the launch, for sure. So we've had lots of members of the general public in, lots of repeat visits as well, actually, people who are coming here a lot now that they know it's here. We've had lots of streamers through here, from kind of top tier streamers right through to sort of up and coming, grassroots. And people love it. People are actually really impressed by the tech that we've put in. And again, you have a spare hour before you go and see a great gig at the O2, then rather than wandering around, you can just come in and get your game on.
Rach, we've obviously known each other quite a while now. I think you said nearly 3 years.
Yeah.
Would you mind giving a little summary of what we've been doing together and how that's been for you as Virgin Media and other Virgin Media O2?
Dom, I think you were probably one of the first agencies that I worked on a project with when I started my role at Virgin Media. And I believe that we'd been trying to kind of work with you for a little while, didn't quite come to fruition. First project we worked on was Paralympics, which obviously I loved. And then, it's been kind of an ongoing relationship since. We've done tons of work on, supporting priority from O2 and the benefits that people can get having a priority app, which has been great. And then more recently, actually, for this place, Gamepad, I think some of the content's just gone live even this morning, as far as I'm aware.
I think so.
But no, I think it's been a great relationship. Obviously, we're always looking at making sure our social is inclusive for everyone. We want a really good representation of the people we work with. And I think we've had a great working relationship, you and the wider team, always sort of open to listen to what we're looking for beyond just providing a kind of formal written brief. We always have a good few catch-ups about that type of content. And I think it's great that kind of a lot of our values align and what, you know us, we're not really, we're not kind of dictating what an influencer must say within their content. We want to utilize their own unique styles to sort of tell those stories. And it's great that I think we're both aligned on that way of working. So I'm looking forward to some more projects this year, really.
Yeah, likewise. In terms of inclusive content, I know we don't want to sort of overly say what we probably can't, but do you see that as successful content in terms of, in the grand scheme of everything you put out? And obviously from our side, it's done well, and we're really happy with what we've done together. But what is it about kind of inclusive content for a brand that actually works? And that might be a silly question because of course you're going to make inclusive content, but is there something that you see in the content that's produced on Purple Go campaigns that particularly performs really well?
Just as a general point for us, it really is about representing everyone. And I love the kind of unique little styles that kind of come in across working with a variety of influencers, in every space, really. We've delivered some amazing results in terms of just looking at the pure numbers. But the thing personally for me that I love seeing when we work with Purple Go, we work with some perhaps influencers that we haven't worked with previously, is seeing their audience reactions. So, when we're highlighting kind of key benefits from Priority, attending gigs or all sorts of offers that we do on Priority or even Gamepad, it's actually so nice to see their communities gain awareness from what we offer in the spaces. And I love reading those kind of positive comments about people wanting to come down, as an example, to Gamepad and try the space out. So for me, beyond the big numbers that we are delivering, it's just nice to see that variety of content, and it's really lovely to see their audiences engage in such a positive way with it.
Awesome. And kind of moving to you in your role, obviously you have a hand in what goes on in here in the promotion and around it, but could you give a bit of an overview as to your role more broadly and what that involves at VMO2?
Yeah, of course. So I head up social for both brands, Virgin Media and O2. We do run separate channels currently for each of them. So really looking after the kind of A to Z of social. So that's everything from what content gets put out on our channels, obviously influencer activity, which we work with you quite a bit. It's kind of, really being responsible for our overall social media strategy. So we've got a great team. We do a lot of stuff in-house. You'll find my team quite often at the O2. Probably one of the best jobs in the world, having to film content from gigs, etc. Gamepad, it's all sort of about promoting kind of, I guess, that, the really good stuff that broadband and mobile gives access to. So gaming, all of our sponsorship properties, Priority from O2 benefits, which are available to both customers. So a lot of content creation, a lot of us attending all sorts of events, etc. to really sort of land with our customers what we're about as a brand.
Yeah, and kind of on that point, what is it about social that works for Virgin Media, O2? When we think of those brands, we think of them as very social brands.
Yeah.
What is it about them that means that social is something that really works, I suppose? Or how can you use social to your advantage in a way that maybe other brands aren't doing quite so well?
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, even beyond Virgin Media O2, it's obviously as social kind of rose and our customers, prospects are spending so much time on social. For us, it's an absolute no-brainer. It's we have to be where our customers are. And of course, people are spending hours on social every day, scrolling through videos and there's obviously a lot of content out there. And for us, it's just absolutely key that we are in that space and communicating with our customers. again, great thing about social is two-way communication. So we hear what our customers are saying. We get to communicate with our customers in real time as well. So it gives us a real kind of insight into what our customers are thinking about our brands, etc.
I think for us, social has been an amazing area where, because of your brand personality, because you are able to just cut through a little bit more and say things in a slightly more provocative, progressive way. Creating inclusive campaigns with you has been, again, a no-brainer really. Like, we've had a lot of fun actually turning certain ideas on their head a little bit and showing how something can be really, really progressive, really inclusive, and deliver great results and be really creative at the same time. I'd love you to kind of just reflect on that a little bit and also just giving it an explanation like how that kind of worked for you and what you can kind of take from that inclusive work that we've done together.
Yeah, I mean, for us, and it is something kind of as a business, like lots of us talk about diversity and inclusion, like it's an always on subject for us. It's absolutely part of what we do. In terms of kind of social, particularly working with, the influencer activity, I mean, in all honesty, it's our ethos across all influencer work is like, let's not impose our brand and our requirements necessarily on the influencer. We like to give them kind of a rough guide of what we're looking to support, to promote in terms of content, and then let them do everything in their own style. So it's always like amazing to have, loads of kind of ideas back from the influencers who want to do all sorts of, sometimes quite crazy ideas in their own unique styles that fit their audience. So yeah, no, for us, it's like giving that creative control to influencers to really sort of help amplify our brand.
Not always the easiest to sort of say, do what you like and then come back and we'll say yes or no from there.
Yeah.
But it can be a really powerful thing to put that creativity into the creator's hand, can't it?
Absolutely. And I mean, of course, there's always some sort of minimum requirements, be it hashtags, be it tags, etc. But in all honesty, a lot of the time, that's about as far as it goes for us. A lot of it is around them experiencing what our kind of products unlock. So as an example, Priority from O2, it's about getting people in to experience the gigs and to sort of tell their story in their own way without feeling like they've got to be really following kind of certain brand messages that kind of come across as really unauthentic. Yeah, for us, it's like you come experience it and you tell us how it is in your own way.
I think that for us is like critical. The Virgin Media proposition is such a naturally like inclusive one, in the sense that we know that from a community perspective, internet connection and also mobile connection is the lifeblood of independence for a lot of people. And so that authenticity screams out in the content that's produced. And, there's nothing better than that natural, authentic connection between creator and obviously the content that they're creating. And I suppose as such, do you find that when you're kind of looking to creators, there's certain sort of types of individual that you're looking to? Is there sort of a Virgin Media customer persona almost, or is it so broad now that it kind of could be anyone?
Obviously, lots of different customer personas, and I think how we kind of always look at it from a social perspective is we should represent everybody. So therefore, we of course like engage influencers from kind of all walks of life and kind of influencers that work in sort of different verticals really. So it's not necessarily, for us, it's not necessarily, okay, we're doing something around travel, we must have a travel influencer. Yeah. It's more like, is it a comedian, for example? Is it someone that's more of a lifestyle influencer? Everyone travels, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a travel influencer. So yeah, for us, I think it more than anything, it's of course about brand safety. So there's certain people that we wouldn't necessarily work with. Maybe they're a bit too out there for our brand. Maybe their values just don't quite align to sort of our company values. So we try and look at it, are these people aligning with our internal values? We'll look at everyone basically to work with. And of course, you see some of our cheeky personalities sometimes. Quite often, we're willing to work with people who perhaps, other brands would be a bit like, oh, not sure about that. They've sworn or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, we're a little bit, I guess, freer in that sense.
Maybe a difficult question, but like, where is that line? And have you got any examples that you can talk about where you've been sort of toying with, is this right, is this wrong, and how do you make that decision? Because from the outside, obviously, like Virgin Media particularly is slightly edgier brand, as we said, but we are always trying to be really progressive, and I'm guessing you are too. But how do you equate to where that line of like creating genuinely disruptive content where that line can be for Virgin. It must be quite difficult to know where that is and sort of pin yourself to that kind of concept or idea.
Yeah, and I mean, I think for us, we have kind of internally sort of documents that we've worked on, which is like, this is good, this is not good. Again, it's sometimes when it gets to that point, there might be a discussion with a few of us to say, this particular content creator is perhaps a little bit too edgy, and then from that we might decide on this occasion and for this kind of target audience we don't feel like it's exactly the right person to work with at this time. I think for us really important, I mean, we do audit our influencers and kind of look at what's been said in the past, is there any controversy around them, etc. And of course we do have to play a little bit safe on the brand kind of safety side of things. We want to work with people who have perhaps made comments in the past that we don't feel align with our values. So yeah, sometimes there are tricky decisions. I tend to be the one that's like, this is just a bit humorous or something, let's do it. It's a lot of the time it's again kind of project dependent, like what are we using that influencer, what story are they telling on our behalf, and does it feel right? We're targeting, for example, families, then we'll be a bit more careful about who we're working with to make sure it feels like the right fit for our audience.
What's your favourite campaign or piece of content or anything that you've kind of put out under your sort of tenure, as it were?
Oh, I mean, I have so many from past brands as well. I've been lucky enough to film some amazing content in some amazing places. I think Joan Collins on a yacht was, one at peak time for me. That was the one where I was like, okay, we need a picture so I can show my mum.
Were you on the yacht?
I was on the yacht,
Okay,
in
great.
Saint-Tropez. But yeah, at Virgin Media, I've been about 3 years in the role now, just coming up to. And actually one of the first projects we worked on together was where Virgin Media were sponsoring part of the Paralympics. And I am a lifelong kind of Olympic fan. So, athletics is my sport, love it. So for me, working on something that from a personal perspective, I absolutely loved was just amazing. And we worked with some incredible creators across the board. And some of the content that we had from the Paralympic project was just amazing. So I felt really, really proud about that. And then I have to say, again, as a lifelong music fan, to be able to come to the O2, the most amazing venue in the world, really, when it comes to music, and be able to really sort of show our customers what you can get from having those sort of priority benefits, being able to put those tickets 48 hours in advance for us is like amazing. So again, that's where personal and professional, we create great content, but I also absolutely love it because it's a variety of music and pretty much like all genres.
It's always nice when you genuinely are doing something that outside of the working world is the kind of thing that you're interested in as well, and then you're waking up in the morning and you're like, oh, this is my job. This is genuinely amazing. Yeah,
absolutely. I've got some of my team particularly working on the Virgin Media Gamepad launch. I mean, I have to confess, I'm not a big gamer. I'm a Sonic the Hedgehog. I think that's probably the last time I played a game. And apparently there's a new one out, so coming soon, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, lots of the team are gamers and just love the fact that they could come down and create content around one of their passion points. So yeah, always good.
Gaming might not be your thing, but social, I'm guessing, more so. As an individual outside of the working world, how do you use social?
Interesting one, because I always find it like it really changes, like what's my platform of choice. For many years, Twitter, when it was Twitter, for me, was probably my first check in the morning. It's like almost like where I get my news from. And I guess, again, the people that I followed at the time, be it sort of music, be it kind of comedy, I found it just amazing to be able to sort of scroll through and get content served that reflects me. Now, I have to say, I am definitely a little bit of a TikTok addict. I love the comedy of TikTok. So probably spend a little bit too much time on TikTok, but it's my job.
Scrolling in bed.
Yeah. I was actually having a conversation this morning about the fact that I don't read very much anymore. And it's because having worked in social and consumed it from a personal point of view as well, I just find now, I think my attention span for other things is a little bit tricky. So I tend to, if I'm sitting reading a book in bed, it's like 2 pages and then I'm out. Whereas an hour, I can spend an hour and then, I really need to go to bed now.
In terms of like looking into the future, what do you think are going to be the trends on social or the way that the platforms are going to evolve from where they are right now? Is there a sort of pattern you're seeing as to how we're going to be engaging in social in the coming months and years?
It's interesting, isn't it? It's like every year we kind of look at, what trends are happening, and we feel like social is ever changing. But I kind of have a different view in that I feel like a lot of it is quite same. Video's been huge for many, many years. There's always that debate every year. Is it going to be much longer form content? How's that going to evolve? And personally, I do consume longer form content more than I ever used to. If it feels like it's the right, it's targeted at me and it's the kind of something in my interest space, then, I'll happily sit and watch a 5-minute TikTok video, for example. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, with changes with Twitter last year, now being X, I'm interested to see how that kind of unfolds. Also, Threads. I mean, I'm sure you had it the same the day that pretty much Threads just dropped, and we were like, right, okay, are we getting on the platform or not? And we decided we would. It'll be interesting to see what Meta do this year, I think, with Threads in terms of like what are going to be the sort of tech improvements, etc. This year, will there be opportunities for paid social in that space, etc. And then also, I think one of the other interesting things is obviously AI and how that kind of then comes into social. Obviously, last year we saw a lot of great brands doing some really nice AI activity, which you then is that point of, is this real? Is it not real? And it can be like some blurred lines there, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds too.
We definitely, both Threads side, when that first launched, we got a wave of creators coming to us being like, this isn't accessible. And it was mind-blowing really that it launched and there wasn't the basic kind of accessibility considerations, like the ability to put an alt tag on an image, something as simple as that, and obviously like captioning or anything like that. And that luckily has improved, but I still think that, there's probably still some way to go on that side of things. And similarly, the AI side, the way we look at it, it's changing the landscape at pace. And, it's almost like you need to keep up with what's possible, the art of the possible with AI. But then again, we have to look through the lens of also like, well, how inclusive is this? Because there's been many a time that, let's say you searched in an image generator like Midjourney, 5 disabled people or a group of friends with a disabled person at a bar. That will literally like completely scramble the Midjourney, and it would just spit out something utterly outrageously wrong. And it shows that obviously these things are based on what has previously existed, and therefore like it's got all the inbuilt prejudice and stereotypes and everything else. So it's not actually sort of leaning into that progressive nature. So it almost still needs that like overseeing eye to make sure that someone can still push the boundaries of the possible, of what should be inclusive, and have that like human touch kind of associated with it, I suppose.
Yeah, completely agree.
In terms of kind of you as a brand, what are you guys looking to develop in the next year? Like what's on the agenda for 2024 that might be, from a socials perspective, I suppose, that might be new, different, pushing the boundaries?
Yeah, I mean, one of the key focus for us this year actually is going to be in the influencer and creator space, something that which we'll be having conversations about at some point, I'm sure, is just that move to kind of using influencers maybe for a short one-off project. For us, it's like, let's look at longer term collaborations with influencers, which we think just builds kind of greater brand associations. And it just enables us to have a much more, I guess, deeper relationship with these influencers, make it feel a bit more authentic. So that's something that in the past at VMO2, we haven't necessarily focused on too much, almost using kind of creators and influencers for key projects. But for us, it's like, how do we get that kind of more longer term ambassador, people that can really become kind of advocates of our brand, who feel like a great fit for the brand. And it just feels like much more authentic to their audiences as well, if they're not chopping and changing between supporting a variety of different brands, but it becomes almost their sort of always on broadband stroke, mobile phone partner. So that's a big focus for us this year, which I'm really excited about. I have worked previous roles on much longer term collaborations, and I think both ways, you just get more value out of that relationship, and also, efficiencies really. So Yeah, that's going to be an exciting one. I think also we've slightly moved our model to try and in-house more content. So my team expanded a little bit last year. We love kind of creating content that's of the moment, and it feels like anyone can create that content, almost like not too polished, mobile phone, at a gig. It's that sort of like that person's perspective. So we'll continue with that, and just having those extra people in the team who can go out and create that content just creates, again, not only cost efficiencies, but also in terms of us being able to do things really quickly and in kind of real time. It helps in that way.
So kind of wrapping up, I suppose, if we think of you as the social guru here, imagine you've got social media professionals watching and listening. What kind of 1, 2, 3 bits of advice would you give them as they develop in their own kind of social media careers, whether as creators, but also if they're working at agencies or within sort of brands on the sort of social side? What would be your kind of best pieces of advice in terms of furthering that career?
Yeah, I think for me, like one of the things that I've always thought about in my career is just, you have to roll with the punches. You have to be... I remember, Dom, believe it or not, I think one of my first social media roles being asked to write a 3-year strategy for social media. And even at the time, I was thinking, what? How do I know what's going to be happening in 3 years? And if you just look at the way that social evolves, and there's things that are outside of our control, right? That the platforms control, even down to sort of algorithms and how you monitor and report, etc. So for me, it's like in social, you have to always be prepared to change. I think change is a constant, and you need to be prepared to sort of jump on things as they come up. So for me, very much we look at, for example, pop culture trends. We look at what's happening out there in the world, try and almost like read the room a bit in terms of our content. So it's ever changing. So I think you need to be super adaptable and not be so kind of rigid in your plan. Obviously, equally, there are still some brands out there who don't really lean into that sort of influencer marketing. They think it's more of a kind of badging, sales thing. But for me, it's about aligning certain influencers and creators, again, with your brand values, and just letting other people tell the story of your brand on your behalf from their perspective, etc. It's a great, I love the industry. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having worked in it a long time, I'm always excited to kind of see what's next. It's a great place to work, I think.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us at the Gamepad.
Pleasure. Always welcome.
Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks, Dom.
Thank you.
Cheers.